Okay, so for 5.3, we are learning to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. And so this is a lot like what you've already seen before. There's two different ways that you can do this. You can either add them vertically or horizontally. I've included two different examples for you to look at or reference to. The main thing, though, that you just want to remember is that you are combining like terms. Combining like terms. So what I mean by that is that all of the x cubes go together, all of the x squareds go together, and then all of the x's go together. There's no x over here, so it's by itself. And then all of the numbers go together. So you just have to keep all of the like terms together. Whether you want to do that vertically or horizontally, it is up to you. So we're going to do a few examples. Here we have adding two polynomials together. So I prefer to do it vertically. So I'm going to say 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus x plus 7 plus 8x cubed. So I have to stack them. They go under this same degree. Minus 1x squared minus 5x plus 1. So then I'm going to vertically add, so I have 11x cubed plus x squared minus 6x plus 8. And that would be my final answer. Now when you're subtracting, it's a little bit different because you have to, if you're subtracting, you have to flip the sign of the second polynomial. So what I mean by that is if I'm taking 5z squared and I'm subtracting 9z squared, that means that I'm minusing. So right now it's a positive, I need to flip it to a negative. So what I do is if I wanted to write this vertically, I'll put 5z squared minus z plus 3 on the top. And then I'm going to take the second polynomial, I'm going to flip the sign. So I have minus 4z cubed, and it goes to the left because it has nothing to line up with it, minus 9z squared minus a negative 12, so plus 12. And I do not have anything to go with my 0, or my 4z cubed, so I'm going to put a 0 here. And I'm going to put a 0 here because there's no z cubed in the first polynomial, there's no z in the second polynomial. So you can either put a 0 or you can leave it blank. It's up to you. And I'm going to add down, so negative 4z cubed minus 4z squared minus z plus 15. Okay, for number 3, I'm going to add, so I have t squared minus 6t plus 2 plus 5t squared minus t minus 8. So I end up getting 6t squared minus 7t minus 6 as my final answer. For number 4, one thing that you could do is you could actually distribute this negative sign. You could do that now, so you could multiply each one by a negative, or you could write it vertically and then flip the sign. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to write this as, I'm going to put my 9t cubed first. And I'm going to leave a little space for the d squared, so plus 0 plus 8d minus 3. Then I'm going to flip the sign of all of my second polynomial. So minus 1d cubed minus a negative 13d squared, so plus 13d squared, plus 0 because there's no d, and then minus a negative 4, so plus 4. So all I did is I changed the signs of all of these. This became a plus, this became a plus, this became a minus. So I end up getting 8d cubed plus 13d squared plus 8d plus 1 as my final answer. So when you're multiplying polynomials, you are just taking, it's the same as foiling that we've already learned before. You are just taking each term in the first polynomial and multiplying it by each term on the second polynomial. So I would take this negative 2y squared, I would multiply it by y and by negative 2. So I'm going to write this as negative 2y cubed plus 4y squared. And I'm going to take this plus 3y, multiply it by y and by negative 2. So plus 3y squared minus 6y. And then I'm going to take this negative 6 and multiply it by y and by 2. Then I need to combine my like terms, so I bring the negative 2y cubed down. I can combine the 4 and the 3, so plus 7y squared minus 12y plus 12. Same thing for number 6. Distribute it all, so 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x plus 9x squared minus 6x plus 12. And I combine my like terms, so 3x cubed, the minus 2x squared plus 9x squared becomes plus 7x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 2x plus 12. When you have more than 2 polynomials being multiplied, so when you have 3, multiply 2 of them and then multiply the remaining with the result. So, for instance, on number 7, I am going to take these first 2, I'm going to multiply them out first. So, it's just like foiling. X squared plus x minus 5x minus 5. Combine my like terms. So I get x squared minus 4x minus 5. That should be a minus 5. Then I bring this down, x plus 3. Now I'm going to multiply it by x plus 3. So I now have a new, it looks just like we did for 5 and 6. So I take this x squared, distribute it. So I get x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x squared minus 12x, right? Yes, minus 12x, and then minus 5x minus 15. Then I combine my like terms, so I have x cubed minus x squared minus 17x minus 15. So I combine these two, combine these two. Number 8, number 9 are the same kind of process. So if you want to check your answers to that, you can. I'm going to move on to the next examples. So then the last part is when you have special patterns. And so what I mean by special patterns is sometimes you see like the sum and the difference of two squares. We've seen that whenever we have factored, or if you see a binomial that's just squared, so it's written twice, The main one, though, that you want to, that's going to be helpful to use is the cube of a binomial. So you will actually be given this on a quiz or a test. I wouldn't make you memorize this, but you just need to know how to use it. So for number 10, it looks like the sum and difference because we have 3t plus 4, 3t minus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my 3t as A, and I'm going to call my 4 as B. So the final product, like if I were to FOIL this out, you could either FOIL it or you could just look at the special patterns. It's going to look like 3t squared minus 4 squared. So if I were to square 3t, I would get 9t squared. And if I were to square 4, I would get 16. Number 11, the same kind of thing. So I have A equals 5y, B equals 3. If I were to do 5y squared minus 3 squared, I would end up getting 25y squared minus 9. So something about these, and I think that students kind of prefer to do what they want, FOILing will work. FOILing will always work. So no matter what, if you don't like these special patterns, FOILing the old-fashioned way is always going to work. These are just shortcuts if you prefer to use these or not. So for number 12, it kind of looks like the square of the binomial. And so if I wanted to label my A and B, A is 8x and B is 3. It looks like this one right here. So I'm going to write it as A squared, which would be 8x squared minus 2 times A times B plus B squared. So I'm going to actually work this out. I get 64x squared minus 48x plus 9. Same thing for number 13. It looks like the plus A plus B squared. So my A is 4A, my B is 7. So it looks like A squared, which would be 16A squared, plus 2 times 4A times 7, plus 7 squared. So I get 16A squared plus 56A plus 49. And if you wanted to work this out the long way, you could do that as well. Now, the cubed of the binomial, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. I can erase this so I have a little bit more room. The cube of the binomial is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we're going to take this step by step. My A is PQ, and my B is 5. Everywhere I see an A up here, I'm going to plug in PQ. Everywhere I see a B, I'm going to plug in 5. So I'm going to write this as PQ cubed plus 3 PQ squared times 5 plus 3 PQ times 5 squared plus 5 cubed. Then I'm going to simplify it. So I'm going to distribute this cubed, and I would rewrite this as P cubed Q cubed plus the 3 and the 5 multiply together to get 15 P squared Q squared, so I just distributed this too, plus I can combine the 3 and the 5 squared. 5 squared is 25. 25 times 3 is 75. PQ plus 5 cubed is 125. I do the same thing for number 15, but my number 15 is going to look like this A minus B. So the only differences between the two are these two signs right here. It's either plus or it's minus. So I'm going to say that my A is mn, and my B is 6. So when I plug that in, I get mn cubed minus 3 mn squared 6 plus 3 mn 6 squared minus 6 cubed. Then I simplify. So when I simplify, I get m cubed n cubed minus 18 m squared n squared plus 6 squared is 36 times 3, 108 mn minus 6 cubed is 216. So if you wanted to FOIL this out and write it 3 times, you could, like mn minus 6, mn minus 6, mn minus 6. Do it 3 times, that will work as well. You do not have to, you can do it this way. I will give you these formulas, so either way will work.